Sunday, April 13th, 1969. Meditation, its methods and utilities.
Let us begin by reading some excerpts from Swami Brahmananda. Meditation is the focusing of the mind on some object. If the mind acquires concentration on one object, it can be so concentrated on any object whatsoever. The greatest help to spiritual life is meditation. In meditation, we divest ourselves of all material conditions and feel our divine nature. We do not depend upon any external help in meditation. There must be meditation. Meditation is the one thing. Meditate. The greatest thing is meditation. It is nearest approach to spiritual life, the mind meditating. It is the one moment in our daily life that we are not material, the soul thinking of itself, free from all matter, the marvelous touch of the soul. Think and meditate that you are the omnipresent Atman. I am neither the body, nor the mind, nor the intelligence, neither the gross nor the subtle body. By this process of elimination, immerse your mind in the transcendent knowledge which is your real nature. Purify the mind by thus plunging it repeatedly in this. Then you will realize the essence of intelligence and be established in your true nature, the Atman. The Atman is knowledge, Atman is intelligence, the Atman is bliss. The subject of our talk this morning is meditation, its methods and utility. Nowadays, many persons challenge religion. Many persons believe religion has served its purpose, religion has no more use. But this is not the whole truth. We find even in America, since so many persons are interested in the subject of meditation. So it is not the fact people do not care for religion. They are seeking something. Then what is meditation? Those persons who have attempted to meditate even out of curiosity know full well then how restless the mind can become. One is not aware while doing one's daily duties and being busy how restless the mind is. It is something like as if the Pandora's box has been all on a sudden open. You are surprised that there are so many things in your mind, hidden in your mind, or as psychologists will say, subconscious mind. Mind is like the surface of an ocean. In the surface of the ocean, there are always waves, mountain-high waves, ripples, but there are always waves. In the same way, there are always waves on the surface of our minds. What are those waves? These are thoughts. Why those thoughts come that way? These indicate our desires, conscious desires, and as also unconscious, subconscious desires. In the past, many desires arose in our minds. We could not fulfill them. They went underground, if we can use that expression. They're still there. All are there. So these things begin to come the moment you even make an attempt to meditate. But you cannot suppress those waves of the mind. You cannot control them. It is impossible. But you can direct them. You can direct them to a particular channel. You can try to direct them in a particular way. It is something like flood waters are coming. You cannot control them, but you can channel them to a particular direction. In the same way, we can do that. This is called meditation. But what are those desires? And how can we control these desires at the very beginning so that new desires cannot come, cannot arise, and also we can make those desires who are in the subconscious mind ineffective. All desires are not bad. There are desires which are helpful. There are desires which is pernicious. So to control the desires, we have to live first ethical life. In that way, we can at least control the pernicious desires that make an attempt to rise in our minds. It is extremely necessary that we should try to live ethical lives. If we want to practice meditation, we cannot afford to live wild life, unregulated life, becoming the victim of impulse, any impulse that comes along, good or bad. Sometimes baser impulses come. In the name of freedom of thoughts, freedom of action, freedom of emotion, you cannot allow your impulses, emotions, your thoughts run wild without any control. Not only control, you just foment them. Anything is good, you think. There is freedom of thought. We are free to do whatever we like. You do that, but you come to dangerous points. Here I would not say what are the ethical virtues. I might say that you do whatever you like, but the moment you find that it gives you trouble, try to control that. Don't go that way. Learn by your experience. There are different subtle arguments about ethics, what is right, what is good, and so on. And the people talk of situation ethics. Ethics should not be done, should not be judged independently according to situations. That means according to situations you can do anything you like. Yes, I leave it to you. Just whatever you find is troublesome, creates trouble for you. Then try to go back. But then we'll realize there are certain things which are in vogue as ethics, because these things people found through experiences in their personal lives, experiences of persons who came to this world before us, found out certain things bad, certain things good, certain things helpful. So that the tradition comes in, so that there are some standard things which are universally accepted as ethical virtues. Only if we do not like to put them into practice, only when we find it difficult to put them into practice, we want to intellectualize them away. You can do that, but you will not get your peace of mind that way. You cannot meditate. You cannot meditate to get peace of mind, to control your mind, to develop your spiritual life. That is the thing. It is open to you. And how to control our desires when desires come, thoughts come, which are inimical. One general rule is, when thoughts come, desires come, which are hostile, which are undesirable, just think of the opposite. That is the one principle, general principle, applicable in all circumstances. As for instance, you get the impulse of anger. Try to think of love. When you feel hatred for someone, try to think in terms of sympathy. Even in that person there is the divine, as much as the divine is within you. What you see in others, projecting as hatred or anger, these are simply outer garments of the divine reality which is within everyone. So try to project sympathy, try to project love. There is a statement, and it is in Hindu scriptures too. It has become very popular in Buddhism, in Dhammapada varieties, but it is found in Hindu scriptures too. Conquer hatred by love. Conquer niggardliness of a person with your generosity. Conquer dishonesty by your overflowing honesty. Conquer a person who practices falsehood with you, then by your truthfulness. These things are extremely helpful. I think more or less in all religions these things are told. Christ put it very poetically. Love your enemies. Bless them that curse you. Just the opposite. Do good to them who hate you. And pray for those who despitefully use you and persecute you. When you cannot do anything, and just pray for them. This is so practical, so real. These are the ethical principles I would say in all religion. Muhammad said, be free from malice, from morn till night, from night till morning. If one practices this, only one ethical virtue, that will be enough for one's basic principles of spiritual life. There is Buddhist prayer, and it is also in Vedic prayer. As in Buddhism, there are few, very little things which do not belong to Upanishadic teachings. The first thing is just send thoughts of goodwill to the east, to the west, to the north, to the south. For a period, you do that. You see, there is not any complicated things in that. Simply, if you do that, you will get great peace. If you can do it regularly, in the course of 1 year, I am sure your life will take different turn. If you simply do that, you can do that. Of course, you try to leave your thoughts throughout the day. You don't do that, you meditate on this idea and you forget everything, and again do just the opposite of what you meditate on. It will be difficult to put this in practice. It is easier to think that way for the time being. Even then other thoughts will come, but in spite of that, if you do that in the course of 1 year, I'm sure, then much earlier, your outlook will be different. Will tangibly, you will find material results. You will be more tolerant of others. You will have greater sympathy. You will have placidity of mind. It is said, when you have placidity of mind, then comes energy. Then comes control of mind. Then you become cheerful. Then you get the requisite strength for meditation. You become cheerful. That's the indication that one is progressing in life, in spiritual life, is cheerfulness. Blessed are the cheerful. Some people are going to say it. Surely Christ has said these things. Blessed are those who are cheerful. They will see God. So the first indication that you are progressing in your spiritual life will be cheerfulness, spontaneous cheerfulness, unalloyed cheerfulness. You will find. It is the indication. And therefore, sometimes people criticize those persons who live spiritual life because they are found to be cheerful. They think they live very happily. So one of our Swamis is a disciple of Ramakrishna. He was traveling in a train. Then someone, rich person, or important person, that Swami was very unassuming, particularly not like Swami Brahmananda. He was of another type. And he said, you people live a luxurious life, idle life, and so cheerful you are. They said, why don't you come here? It is open to all. You come here. You see, they do not, they will not do that. They will criticize. So first indication is that one is cheerful. But that you get even by this simple process of meditation, if you really want it. But what is the purpose of your meditation? The purpose must be indicated. You want to meditate and control your mind, and at the same time you want to enjoy things of the world, so that you can have material success and you will get concentration. And you will concentrate and you will utilize for your things, for your worldly activities, for the fulfillment of worldly ambitions. No wonder, by trying to meditate, many persons go wrong. They begin to see visions. They begin to feel God consciousness. They feel that chakras are rising from one point to another. So no wonder they do things, live a wild life and try to do things haphazardly without getting any direction. Sometimes I find persons, they're reading all sorts of books, and on the basis of them, they begin to meditate. Naturally, many persons go wrong, out of mind. When I came to this country, I remember, perhaps within 1 month, a young man asked me in that corner, as I was going or come. He said, are you trained to give instruction on meditation? And I said, why do you ask that question? I did not give any. But anyhow, that boy came to see me once or twice. He showed that genuine interest for spiritual things. Then he left it. He went to Chicago. He wrote to me 1 or 2 letters. In one letter, he said he's meditating for 8 hours. I was new to this country. I did not know what type of person, what is that thinking. From a distance, one thing and see. I felt very happy that person is trying to live intense spiritual life. Then after 1 year, he came to me. He said, what's the matter? Because I was in an asylum, mental hospital. I said, what happened? He said, one day I was going by the streets and I found there are things were in a showroom. Here there are toys. The toys were dancing. That I know. Afterwards, when I got a little consciousness, I found I was under the clutches of the police. He took me to a mental hospital. Just if he was a nice boy, but doing these things. So you cannot say that we meditate and we think that your kundalini is rising. You would not know. That's more than one case. In ordinary circumstances, I tell you, I don't know whether I told you before, that it was so interesting. I went to Seattle. The Swami wanted to give me a present. He took me to some store. But for something, the Swami had to go to another store. He said, "You wait here." That a salesman came to me. He seems to be a very good person. He said, "I am a disciple of the Swami." I said, "What Swami?" They say, "Give the name." Then he said, "I feel my chakra is rising, this chakra and that chakra." I said, "How much? How long are you meditating?" He said, 4 months or so. I was looking at him. I said, "Is he in a normal condition?" I am sure if he pursues these things, if he is not at that time not in an abnormal condition, soon he will become abnormal. There is no doubt. I am sure about that. If he pursues, he wants to see kundalini rising. That it is not that way. The important thing, see, you must cultivate the ethical virtues. You must live a disciplined life. Disciplined life might be a strong word. I say, live a life of sensible moderation. Sensible moderation. Simply what you know to be right. From your own experience, don't do it again. I said that will be enough. If life will become regulated. It is extremely important. It is extremely important. You must live ethical life. If you live ethical life, then there will grow in you unselfishness. Everything will be, to a great extent, under control. And at least you will develop some degrees of unselfishness. That is called purification of the heart, pure heart. Ramakrishna said if one becomes unselfish, then he is fit to realize God. Swami Brahmananda said further, he said unselfishness is God. It is easy to practice. I say it is easy to practice. Whether you will be able to do that, that's a different thing. In every day, if you try, if you miss no opportunity to serve others, to think in terms of thou and not me, not in a big religious thing, oh God, I am nothing, thou art everything, not I but thou. I don't say that a big thing, just in your daily life, practice that thing. Not your thing, I want it, and just to see he wants it. Think in terms of the convenience of others. Think in terms of the feelings of others. Don't say he has done wrong to me. Practice these things. These things are necessary. And when you cultivate these things, some persons have naturally these feelings. Some persons naturally, as in they're sympathetic to others, think in terms of others. I've seen sometimes. He was a young Swami. Once I found I was in a situation, he was always eager to help others. I watched it. At that time, young, afterwards, now he's doing very, very big work. That was the indication that had the spirit of service. So these things are necessary. Then if we develop certain degrees of unselfishness, the thought will come into your mind, what is the purpose of life? Then spiritual interest will arise. So without spiritual interest, you cannot meditate. Simply with vague interest, you cannot do anything. Here, vague interest, you seek something. You find your life is meaningless. But you think by meditation, you will find life meaningful. You will find that, I am sure. But that's a process of meditation. You cannot do it haphazardly. You cannot do haphazardly. And in most cases, spiritual teacher is necessary. People will not believe that there is need for a spiritual teacher. Many persons would not like to think that spiritual teacher is necessary. But spiritual teacher is necessary as a guide, as a safe guide, provided you get a spiritual teacher who does these things out of compassion, out of desire to help others, not for any worldly goods. or name or fame or whatever it might be. So when you get a spiritual teacher, then you are comparatively safe, you know. At least if he be not a man of God, at least he knows the difficulties on the way, he knows what happens, he knows what are the advantages on the way. It is extremely necessary for average person. Fortunately, if you find a man of God who has got spiritual experiences, so it's a great blessing. He can tell you, some spiritual teachers can read your mind, read your thoughts. It is not in a mystical way. It is not in an occult way. Fortunately, I came into contact with a person who told me that there was a time when I could see things in the heart of a person as things in a glass case. For the time being, for the first time I came into contact, whom I could not disbelieve, but who made such an astounding statement, not to show his power and other things, for something else, he said. But now I cannot do that. He said, these things can come. But don't think that everybody will be able to. You will feel every man in the street, in the streets of New York, or you will get who will be able to do that. Most cases, charlatans there might be. In any case, if you get a spiritual guide, that is helpful. If not, if you begin this way, that will be something. Then the question, first is, what is the object of a meditation? Why do you come to meditate? Try to meditate. It must be spiritual thing. It must be spiritual interest. Otherwise you cannot, there will be a conflict. Your interest is in another thing, but you want to meditate and meditate for 8 hours. It's a dangerous thing. I would not ask anybody to meditate for more than 5 minutes in the beginning. So there must be spiritual interest aroused. The field must be made ready, soil must be made ready. Otherwise these things will not, a real thing will not come. You will grow simply weeds, and those things will be dangerous for you, for your life. So when there is a spiritual interest, then comes what will be the object of meditation. It's a meditation or concentration. What's the law of concentration? Simple thing. The law of concentration is interest. When you read a book, when you become engrossed in reading so much that you forget your dinner, forget other persons coming to your room even. You are so much concentrated in your thoughts. What was the reason? It was, you might be reading a fiction. You are so much engrossed. Your interest was there. Your interest was there, so you got so much absorbed. In the same way, there must be interest first aroused. For that, all these preparations are necessary. When there is the spiritual interest of whatever type that may be, then the question arises, what will be the object of meditation? Object of meditation can be with forms or without forms. Some persons who are a bit proud of their intellectuality, rationality, they also believe in God without forms. That's all right. But if you are to worship God without forms, you must have a tremendous willpower. You must be able to do what you are asked to do, especially with regard to ethical virtues. Buddha did not speak of God, but he had a tremendous willpower to control himself. Not many persons have that tremendous willpower. Those persons have developed their ethical virtues to a high degree, or to the highest degree. Only they can worship God without form. You see, there is absolutely no human touch, no emotional touch. You simply intellectually you think, and you try to put that into practice without any help. Usually, those who are the monks who follow the monastic path of spiritual practice, even they have that help as their guru, as the teacher. Buddha's disciples did these things. Buddha did not do these things as far as we know. His disciples, when Buddha asked to meditate in that way, they could not. So in times of trouble, they began to pray to Buddha himself. So that is the formula of 3 prayers. Buddhang Saranam Gacchami. 3 prayers. Buddhang Saranam Gacchami, I take refuge in Buddha. Dhammang saranang gacchami. I take refuge in his teachings. And Sanghang saranang gacchami. I take refuge in the holy company of Buddhist monks. You see, these things are there to help one in times of trouble. Three helps are necessary. But in the beginning, those persons who want to meditate without forms, they cannot. Surely they cannot. Even Swami Vivekananda, such a strong person, he said, in hours of trials and tribulations, we want a flesh and blood reality who can help me in a visible form. That was necessary, and that mind begins to be troubled. So those who are qualified, let them meditate on God without forms. The number is very few, know for certain. However, you are proud of your intellectual qualification, intellectual outlook, and you are rational. You do not believe in emotionalism. That's all that you hope. Just go in your own way. Then God with forms. With God with forms also there is the difficulty. Or God with qualities, there is the difficulty. In India, I say, they have many gods and goddesses. I say, 333 million gods and goddesses. That these gods are not simply images. They are the reading of the oneness, the reading of the one reality with human intellect and human emotion. There's a great deal of discussion. God is no longer needed nowadays. God has become outmoded. God has become the fading smile of a Cheshire cat, and so on. So God is not personal. God is not dead. Your idea about God was wrong. There's always quarrel with the personal God. But personal God is not a separate entity. Personal God is a concession of human weaknesses. Personal God is the reading of the impersonal God. Philosophical God is oneness, ultimate reality. But when you look at that ultimate reality with human emotion, I am a human being, idea of God will be a human being. I am a human being, I create things sometimes, and we find human beings create, then we think God is a creator. As soon as you say God is a creator, other things come in. God is father, God is mother, and why not friend, companion, other things come in. So when we meditate on God with forms, or God as a personal God, then also there is a difficulty to meditate. You do not see the form. So in Hinduism there are forms. Those forms indicate a symbolism, symbol of that idea. Shiva is the symbol of renunciation. Shiva is the god of monks. And we have an idea what is this type of Shiva. Then we meditate on that. As a Buddha, Buddha did not leave any photograph, but there are so many statues about Buddha. Those statues were created with human imagination, with human emotion. And they meditate on Buddha, not only Buddhists, on others also. The Buddha's form gives us so much peace in our room when we keep the statue there. So we want a form. Then where do you get a form? I said the Buddhists did not believe in God. They have no idea that God has any form. Buddha became the substitute. They meditate on Buddha. So in innumerable temples, they will worship Buddha. Not only meditate, they worship with the rituals, elaborate rituals. Buddha's big statues of Buddha, very, very big. They are not satisfied. Buddha, love for Buddha is so great. They want to have a huge statue and they'll meditate on that. So it comes to this. Either when you cannot worship God without form, then worship God with qualities as a creator and so on. That also does not become very helpful to many. They want a form. So we come to, it's a Buddha or Christ, say incarnation, divine incarnation. That becomes easy. It becomes easy to meditate on Buddha, easy to meditate on Krishna. Krishna is considered incarnation. Whatever might be the definitions of incarnation, we are not interested to go into things. There are certain persons who are spiritually so powerful that above all ordinary things. Or in any case, what you think you become. Patanjali's book of aphorisms says, if you can meditate on a highly developed spiritual person, you will get the benefit. Not only the benefit, you would get the highest samadhi, but making that as a symbol. You try to, as a help to meditation, you take it. But help to for meditation is nothing like worshipping a beautiful form. Even a good picture we may meditate on, but that will not give the real benefit. That might be in the beginning a bit helpful, but you cannot proceed further. When you see the thing of Buddha, emotion comes in our place, and when emotion helps us, it creates our interest in him, so it becomes easy to meditate. So, God without impersonal God, then personal God, or incarnation it comes. If not incarnation, it is not the question of your belief or not belief in incarnation. You find a powerful person. He has given help to so many persons. So take it spontaneously. If you do not like it, don't do it. You will find another thing. Or through process, you will find the difficulty of in meditation without some tangible guide. And there also, you may not necessarily meditate on a form, on a visualized picture. There are other ways. If you meditate, that becomes easy. Meditate on the life incidents of those persons. Say in some Vaishnavas, followers of Krishna, that meditate on the life incidents of Buddha. I think some Christians meditate on the life incidents of Christ. They will be doing these things. You see, there is a great help, indirectly, a very great and tangible help. When you meditate on that life incident, and you become in their presence, as it were, when you are emotionally and with concentration, with interest. Let us not say concentration. Concentration does not come that way. Interest has grown. Then it becomes, you feel a living presence. It is as good as living in that time. You know, M wrote these things, Gospel of Ramakrishna, as short notes in his notebook. And he could not always go to Ramakrishna because he was a professor. He could not go excepting on weekdays. And he would be meditate on those ideas. And these things have become such a habit with him. When Ramakrishna passed away, when he saw him, we could see he lived and moved and had his being in that presence always, as it were. Ask him any question, his mind and rolling eyes go to that place of Dakshineswar, as one could see, and he would be thinking in terms of, as if he was in constant presence of Ramakrishna, though he passed away. Once I read in a book, once M went to Dakshineswar. He began to embrace the trees in Dakshineswar, big trees. He said, these trees have seen Ramakrishna for 30 years. And these trees are so much associated with the presence of Ramakrishna in the imagination of M that would literally, he was not sentimental. And he began to, in his quiet devotion, he began to embrace these trees. Think of the intensity of devotion. For him, meditation is easy. For him, meditation is a constant companion. But these things came that way, meditating on the incidents of the life of a great saint or a savior. Or you can meditate on their teachings. Simply meditate on their teachings of the left behind. From day to day, you read and meditate. Then those ideas will sink into your mind. And that will create change in your outlook. What you eat, you become. What mental food you give to your mind, then these things take the possession of your mind, and afterwards, these thoughts put into action. From your thoughts come the action spontaneously. So meditating on those teachings also helpful. It is easier. You can contemplate on some idea, So you begin to visualize, begin to think and think. Then afterwards you will find new meaning in the teachings. You read for the first time, you find one meaning. But you meditate from day to day, and you try to put into practice those ideas. That is extremely important. 5 minutes of meditation is nothing. But when you try to put into practice, these 5 minutes will be untold help to you. Gradually you will find one can do that. Or one can try to think that God is all pervading, that God is in the heart of everyone, God is, and meditate on those ideas. One can meditate that way. These are the different things. Or even you take a text from a book, spiritual book, which appeal to you. You may meditate on those ideas and try to put into practice. When you try to put into practice, you will find deeper and deeper meaning. If you simply meditate for some time, you will get some meaning. You might get new meaning. But when you try to put into practice, then you will find, just like algebraic formula. In a formula, just little thing, but there is the clue by which you can do big things. Engineers without formula will build big bridges and they will do that. So you will find how helpful they are. Then comes what happens when one meditates. Mind will become a bit calm. If you meditate, you may not be at once in samadhi. If you struggle for 1 hour, let us say, you will surely, if you practice for some time, you will get 1 or 2 minutes of calmness. If you get calmness for 1 or 2 minutes, that's a great thing. It's from the mind, from the surface, from the waves constantly agitating your mind. The mind has become calm, at least for the time being there has been lull. That indicates you are progressing. That's a great thing, and you continue. Then there will come. You will progress more and more and more. Then there are different levels of meditation. No use telling these things. No use reading these in yoga books. Just Patanjali standard book gives detailed description what happens. But generally thing, what happens is this. First, you get interest by cultivating ethical virtues and trying to put them into practice. Mind becomes placid. Mind becomes sympathetic. You are not easy. You do not get disturbed so easily. And afterwards, there comes interest in this thing. When there is interest, then there will be energy for meditation. You will develop the capacity to meditate. And when you develop the capacity to meditate, there will be concentration more and more. And when you pursue that, you will get what is called transcendental experience. It will come then. Don't think to meditate and you will have transcendental experience. We found the word transcendental experience very much in papers sometime back. So it does not come so easily, transcendental. Through these processes, with anything worth having, you must pay the price for it. Don't think you can have a shortcut for everything. There's no shortcut. There's no jet plane in mind. Yeah, people have not discovered as yet in a jet plane to control the mind. It must be slow. It must be slow process. You must be ready. You must be ready for that. But don't say just in the beginning, oh, it is long way off. You see, as soon as you hear all these things, the truth things, then it is long way off. Then don't come that way. You want cheap thing, go. Just a fun thing. In Calcutta, there was an English watchmaker, Englishman. So Indians sometimes would not like to give him high price for a repair. Then sometimes he was a humorous person. Some persons went, sometimes others would say things to others also, went to repair his watch. And he found it has been given to some person who has spoil it. He said, go to a cobbler, don't come to watchmaker. So exactly, that if you say that it's a long way process, you want the highest thing, and you say it's a long journey. That very idea indicates that you do not want that thing. You see, it may not be a long journey. One step is necessary. You must just make the beginning. You are not ready to make the beginning even. That you have no interest. When you are hungry, when in a severe storm, any food is good enough for you. You are hungry, any food is good. But you are not hungry, then you say it's a long way off. Then with such attitude, one cannot do anything. It may not be long way off with all. Yoga books says, and through spiritual experiences says, we said all these processes seem to be very complicated, very complex, but it is not all complex. In yoga book, standard book by Patanjali, it is said, giving the subtle descriptions of so many things we cannot understand. We understand the words, whole thing, very difficult to understand. To understand, then you have to pass through all these conditions of mind. Then you can really understand. But they are also giving all this descriptions, what happens and what has to be done. All of a sudden, he says, if you repeat the name of the Lord, then you will have the you will be able to realize Him. Not only realizing Him, I said, the commentator said, you can see Him and you can hear Him talk. Usually I could not believe these things. Recently I saw that commentator, he wrote that you can see Him and you can hear Him talk. Ramakrishna said, she talks to me. Ramakrishna used to say whether God can talk with us. Ramakrishna in modern times. And here Patanjali says, leave aside all these complicated things. By simply repeating the name of the Lord, there will come a time then you will realize God as a tangible experience. So tangible that it is as good as seeing, as good as hearing. In another aphorism it is said, if you worship God, and through love for God, you will realize Him. Then it is easy, simply by love for God. Because of love for God, all your impurities of the heart will be burned, will be eliminated. Then you will realize Him as a direct experience. You have not to go through the complicated process of meditation. You will have to go simply to love for God. You can get things. 3 or 4 aphorisms speak that way. That all. Swami Pavitrananda said, in his life he did so much meditation, complicated things, going for spending the whole day and night in meditation, spiritual thoughts. He had a strong body, he could do that. Towards the end he would be giving directions. But there are easier methods. Even in Patanjali says this, is quoting that aphorism. A lover of God, one who has been able to develop love for God, that one has not to go through all these complicated processes. Simply by love for God, you will get everything, and God will help you. God will help in other cases also. The self is within us. Is trying to manifest itself. Through meditation, we help that process. The self is trying always to unfold itself, and through these processes, it becomes quicker. That also process, but in this process of devotion to God, you get it quicker. But what has to be done? It's to be the important necessary, the constant, ceaseless practice. In Patanjali's Yoga book, it said it can be done through spiritual practice and discrimination, alertness between what is right and wrong. Just always discriminate what is right and wrong and continue your spiritual practice. Not that you will have to do for long hours. Do it for short time as a practical thing. Do it for a very short time. And doing this for a short time, for a long period, 3 or 4 years, interest will grow. Then afterwards, you will be able to meditate for a longer and longer time. But if you pursue that way, then there will be intensity of love for God or intensity of interest. Then you can meditate for a longer time, and afterwards you will realize the truth of yourself, the knowledge of what you are. You might be God vision, it might be God vision, it might be spiritual, it might be God vision, or it might be illumination. Something will get, which means the ultimate reality. You will get eternal bliss, eternal knowledge. That is possible for everyone. That is possible for everyone. It is the question of time. If you start on the way, if you take one step, and it is question of it is the question of time afterwards. Even if we do not get in this life, but if we just continue, we will get something surely. We may not get the highest. When you come at once, is whether we will get the samadhi. But yes, if you have ambition, you have so much ambition, that's a good thing. But you pay the price. You cannot get things with a cheaper price. Everything are not on sale. Are on sales, if you have developed love for God, then it will be easy for you. But a normal process, it will take time, be patient, but everyone will get something. Then you will realize meditation is really helpful. It is not ordinary thing. May all you be able to realize that spirit, and afterwards realize that goal.